Welcome to another reading lesson with Miss Meadows. I am so excited to be reading with you, and you are going to need your My Books today, so make sure that you have those out if you don't already. But we are going to start with our vocabulary for today. So our first word is floor. Say floor. Very good. And floor is a noun or a person, place, or thing word. A floor is one part of a tall building. So for example, someone might say, I like living on the top floor, which would be all the way up here at these highest windows because you can see everything from up there. So each of these little lines of windows would be a different floor on this building. And to get from one floor to the next, you would have to walk upstairs. The next word is straight. Say straight. Very good. Straight is an adjective or a describing word. If something is straight, it is not bent or round. So all of these lines that you can see here on this picture are straight lines. None of them are round like you would see in a circle. They are straight. The next word is designed. Say designed. Very good. Designed is a verb or an action word. If you designed something, you planned what it will look like when it gets made. So, for example, the students designed a poster for their project. So they are designing it and deciding how it's made. The next word is whole. Say whole. Very good. Whole is an adjective or a describing word. If you have the whole thing, you have all of it. So there is a whole sandwich left here to eat. Nobody's taken any bites out of it. The next word is real. Say real. Very good. Look at this picture and how cute it is. And one of those puppies is real. Can you figure out which one it is? Yeah, it's this guy right here. So real is an adjective or a describing word. If something is real, you can really see it and it is not fake, made up, or pretend. So it is a little bit difficult in this picture to tell which of the puppies is real. And our last word is model. Say model. Very good. Model is a noun or a person, place, or thing word. A model looks the same as the big thing, only it's smaller. So this girl has made a model of the solar system. So it looks like the real solar system. However, it is on a much smaller scale than our usual solar system, obviously. All right, kiss your brain. Moving on. Our setting today, or our anchor chart today, is on setting. Can you say setting? Very good. So setting, when we talk about setting, it's where the story takes place or when the story takes place. So the where would mean, where does the story happen? Does it happen on Earth or in outer space or in a house or in the forest or in a castle or on a train? We want to think about where the characters are in the story. And then for when, we want to think about when does the story take place? We want to think about the time of day. Is it nighttime or daytime outside? Was it back in history, or what month was it in? Was it in the winter or the spring or the fall or the summer? And we want to ask ourselves, why is the story important? Why is it important if they're in space? Or why is it important that they're in the summer, and how does that affect the story? So we want to think about the setting of our story today as we're reading. So as you listen to Young Frank Architect, think about where the story is happening and when the story is happening. Our story today is called Young Frank Architect. Our genre is realistic fiction. Stories are made up but could happen in real life. So we're going to look for characters who act and talk like real people, settings that are real places, and events that could really happen. Our purpose for reading is to read to understand events in the beginning, middle, and end, and look for details in the words and pictures to help you. Then retell the events in your own words. Reminder that our power words or our vocabulary words are floor, straight, designed, whole, real, and model. So be on the lookout for those as we read. To build some background before we read, we're going to listen to this quick audio to find out about Frank Lloyd Wright.
An architect designs or plans buildings. Some architects make models of their ideas. Others create drawings to show how all the pieces of a building will fit together. Frank Lloyd Wright was a very famous architect. He designed many kinds of buildings all around the world. He once got a letter from a 12-year-old named Jim. Jim wanted a doghouse for his dog Eddie. So, Mr. Wright designed it. Eddie had a very fancy doghouse. The story Young Frank Architect is about a boy named Frank who is an architect and has a dog named Eddie.
Alrighty. So that is a little bit of background for our story, and now we will get into listening. So open up to the page Young Frank Architect. If you need to pause the video to get to that page, go ahead and do so now so that you can follow along with me as we read. So this is called Young Frank Architect by Frank Viva. Young Frank's apartment is on the top floor of this tall building. He is an architect. He lives with his spotted dog Eddie and his grandpa, Old Frank, who is also an architect. So in the beginning of the story, we are getting introduced to our characters and learning a little bit about them. Like, for example, they live on the top floor of this building with a dog named Eddie, and they are both named Frank, and they are both architects. Young Frank makes things. He uses anything he can get his hands on. Macaroni, books, dishes, spoons, dogs. Dogs? Not Eddie. Yes, even Eddie. But only sometimes. So sometimes he is using Eddie. Probably not to make things, but maybe as a helper sometimes. One morning, young Frank made a chair using toilet paper rolls. What a creative thought. Said Old Frank. I don't think architects make chairs. And you can't really sit in this one, can you? I guess not, said young Frank. He also made a skyscraper out of books. Buildings should be straight, said Old Frank, not twisted and wiggly. Hey, are those my books? So as I'm reading, I'm noticing that in the middle of this book that Old Frank is kind of being a little bit maybe mean to young Frank about how he's designing things. He's saying buildings should be straight. They can't be wiggly. And I think that little Frank, young Frank, is trying to be creative, and Old Frank is kind of not letting him be creative. So I'm wondering if at the end of the book, if young Frank is going to continue being creative or if he's going to really struggle to be creative because Old Frank wasn't very nice to him. We'll have to read to find out. Just before lunch, young Frank designed a whole city. Said Old Frank. Cities are made one building at a time and take hundreds of years. Oh, man, Old Frank just keeps being kind of mean to him. Geez, I wonder what's going to happen with them. At lunch, young Frank said, Grandpa, I'm not sure I want to be an architect anymore. Said Old Frank. I know. Let's go to the museum. I think it will be very good for you to see the work of some real architects. Don't you? I haven't been to the museum in years and years, said Old Frank. Me neither, said young Frank. What do you think they're going to see there? Do you think they're going to see things that look like what young Frank is building or things that Old Frank is describing? Let's see. They saw lots of things, including a wiggly chair designed by an architect named Frank. Old Frank looked at it sideways. He kind of went, A twisted tower by an architect named Frank. Old Frank cleaned his glasses. He can't believe his eyes. Here he was thinking that wiggly chairs couldn't exist and buildings had to be straight, and he's now realizing that maybe he was wrong. Do you think that architect named Frank who designed these things might be the one we learned about and listened to before the story? I'm wondering if they're connected. They also saw a giant model of a whole city designed by another architect named Frank. Are all architects named Frank? Asked young Frank. I don't think so, said old Frank. When they got home, old Frank said, architects really do make chairs and twisted towers in cities too. I guess I was wrong. That's okay, Grandpa, said young Frank. Even I don't know some things. So even though he was wrong, he was able to admit that he was wrong and that chairs can be wiggly and buildings can be curvy and wiggly and not straight. And we can invent new things that maybe weren't the way that we thought they were. And we can learn from that. And young Frank seems to be okay with him apologizing. That evening, young Frank and old Frank made chairs. Chairs with zigzags, chairs with crazy legs, and a little chair that was perfect for Eddie. They made buildings of every shape and size, tall ones, fat ones, round ones, and one made from chocolate chip cookies. Eddie, don't eat the library, said young Frank, and please get back on your chair. When they were done, they had a whole city. Woof, said Eddie. Shh, Eddie, said young Frank. Stay until I tell you. Good boy. Look, there he is in the middle. Later that night, when young Frank was tucked in his bed, he felt a bit older, like a real architect. For his part, old Frank felt younger and a little wiser. Woof, said Eddie. And that's the end of our story. So you have a couple of different options that you can do. If you choose to retell the story in your own words by doing the emerald sheet, you will earn an emerald or 2 points for that. As always, there's also always the sapphire paper and the ruby paper that you can do as well. Our HMH task that you could do for a sapphire point is to describe the different kinds of things that architects do. So go ahead, take your pick. You can either do our HMH question, which is to describe different kinds of things that architects do that you might have learned from our story, or you can get out your gem choices and either pick sapphire, emerald, or ruby to complete. Retell would be a great choice to retell the beginning, middle, end of the story because that was our focus, but you are allowed to pick whatever you would like. I hope you enjoyed this story. I know that I did, and I can't wait to read with you again tomorrow. Bye, friends!